Truth, we're all in the human race. We didn't know the reason. It was only for a season. But we choose to be free thinkers. We are free.
Let me try that again. Hello, Facebook and YouTube. Okay. Welcome to Black Conservative Female. Excited to have you here with us. And we're definitely excited about our guest today. He is hailing to us from the great state of New Jersey. And he is the director of Blexit there. And he has his own podcast, which I'm excited to share with you guys, because we know we need as many people speaking this message as possible. So welcome with us from David Sypher's Conservatism. David Sypher, welcome to Black Conservative Female.
I know, I'm happy to be here.
We're excited to have you. How long have you been doing your podcast?
I want to say maybe about a month and a half. It hasn't been that long.
Yeah, it hasn't been, but you've been making quite a splash over there. It's been nice to see it growing. And also want to welcome, of course, Janice Pons again and Stephanie Tressel. Thank you, ladies.
Glad to be here. Such an honor always.
Yeah. So why do you think, David, that the conservative message, especially from Black conservatives, is really resonating with people in this election cycle and the last several months?
Oh yes, it's resonating because it's a message that we're familiar with, but we're not familiar with. Meaning that it's a message where we think it's foreign, but we grew up on that message. Entrepreneurship, family, God. These are not messages that's new. You know, if you're Black and you grew up in a Black neighborhood, you've been dragged by your grandmother when you were 5 years old. You had no choice, you know. So these are things it's not foreign. As we get older, we maybe veer away and think that we subscribe to another set of values, which we don't. So it's just basically a reminder of something you've been living your whole life. So now it's time to put it into practice.
Wow, that's like what I say almost every week is we're kind of here to help people put together the way they're voting with a lot of times the way they live or the way they were raised. And it's kind of interesting how in the Black community we have people that are held up in front of us as supposedly our idols, but they live very differently than we live, or, you know, anyone real successful in the community lives. You know, it's almost like they truly are puppets, or they're not like real people. Your LeBron James and your Cardi B, they're not real role models in the community, because you can't do any of that stuff or act the way they're acting and really be successful.
I think
right.
know, regarding that, I think it's been a huge targeted attack on values. What our guest was talking about, all those things were solid foundational values growing up in the Black community. I mean, it was just no ifs, ands, or buts. If you miss it in school, and that's when you could get a paddling at school, you were gonna get one when you got home, and you straighten your act up. And all it took was that for you to be compliant. And now compliance is like a foreign word to many. That's why we can see people think it's okay to burn down someone's business or shoot someone, and they just don't have to comply. And so it's been a vicious attack on values. Those are the values. We were raised with solid values, just like the gentleman was saying. But that is under attack.
Absolutely. And David, you just had on, is it Joe Collins in
Yeah, yes,
California
Joe
who's
Cox.
running against
Yeah,
Maxine Waters?
yes, he. I just interviewed him. He's running against Maxine Waters, and it's a very big political fight. And like I said, he needs all the support that he can get because Maxine Waters has been in that office for far too long. She was actually in that office. I've seen old clips from the '92 riots, and she was in that office. So very, that's a very long time. But real quick, I just want to piggyback off of what you guys saying as far as the athletes. I think when you talk about LeBron James and you talk about Cardi B, the issue comes in is that no doubt they're influencers, right? And in some circles, they're thought about as thought leaders. But the issue is they're not always informed about the issues, right? And so what happens is that you have a person that's giving you an unbalanced conversation, and it's not reflective of where they're at. Like LeBron James is telling you, oh yeah, we're oppressed. When he's telling you that he's pulling up in a Ferrari with his butler next to him, but he's telling you that, oh, we're oppressed, right? So, and it's like, where are they getting their information from? And a lot of times they listen to the CNN, the liberal talking heads. And when you hear their conversation, it's not innovative, right? It's just something that you would hear if you just turn on the news. So, but the problem is that when you have 30, 40, 50 million followers, you can say something and they'll take it to heart and they'll echo those sentiments. And the problem is it gets very dangerous. Like you said, it gets very dangerous because you have people walking around feeling like they're hunted. And what happens is that they can act in a certain way based on somebody's rhetoric, and they're not even getting towards what the issue really is and what really needs to be done.
So if you take that, because it reminded me, we were talking a little bit about Joe Collins and what did you call it? Low information voters, right? Low information voter. So if you pair up a low information voter with, I really think they're paid handlers. I think if they don't say what they're told to say, they don't get to get the checks they get. You know what I mean? You've got cancel culture is really huge right now. And these guys are like told this is what you need to do. But regardless of whether they are actually, just puppets, or if they are also low information voters yourself, you've got the blind leading the blind.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. He was LeBron James was harping on all Black people, and he said men, women, boys, and girls are terrified.
Yeah.
We're all in fear. And so, it's someone tell them that's what you need to push, that where you're all in fear, and it's crazy. I'm like, and I thought to myself, wow, I'm not in fear about anything. You all aren't either. But that's what he's trying to. That's what he's pushing, and it's like, from a spiritual perspective, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power, love, and a sound mind. So it was just crazy when he was pushing that fear thing. It was like, wow.
Hey, Mikkel.
Hey,
Welcome.
I got a new phone, so I'm trying to fiddle with it. I'm sorry I'm late. I thought I could just zip in and out with this new phone.
Well, you zipped in. We've got David Sypher here.
Hi, David. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm well.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Just really quick to go back to LeBron James saying that about fear, and I keep thinking, well, I'm not as rich as he is and as famous as he is, but I've been Black longer than him. So I'm like you said, Janice, I was like, I must be doing this Black thing wrong because I'm not in fear. So what am I missing? And we just aren't born. They act as if sometimes the left, that when we're born, someone whispers in your ear where there's 400 years of oppression on you and you can never do anything. And I guess this is where you were raised, but or how you were raised. I just, work ethics, believing that you can get anything as long as you're willing to work hard for it, and not feeling like a victim and I can never do this as a result of the systematic racism or whatever they like to try to sell people. And as we were talking about Black people being spiritual and going to church, and if we could just vote our values, it wouldn't that just make all the difference in the world, and not be swayed by these slick talking politicians that come to church, that they're allowed to come up to the pulpit and speak. And it was like, just you go to Bible study on Wednesday, you're in choir practice another day, and you're going to church, and you're getting fed, and you're getting filled up on all the knowledge of the Bible. But on election Tuesday, you throw that all out of the window and just go in there and support a party that's totally out of the light of Christ and just in darkness.
I just want to say hi to one of our viewers, Linda Kay. Thanks for joining us from Alabama and sharing the broadcast. I just had to I try to comment. I like to let people know I'm watching you here. But also, I have a Facebook friend with your same last name, which I can't pronounce, who I was just arguing with earlier. So I don't know if Claire is your sister, but you probably don't maybe get along with her that well either. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for sharing the broadcast. Thank you for all of our viewers and those of you that are new. We just every week have people new to conservatism, and we're just excited to have you and excited to be here. I've been asking people, David, that have a platform, like, are you hearing from people about the impact that it's having? Because I mean, we are kind of right at the forefront of this movement and really getting to see people where lights are turning on. Maybe they didn't even realize they actually were conservative or never saw a Black conservative before.
Correct. Yeah. As far as me, my personal experiences, for me, it's half and half. I've got some people. I've encountered some people. Sorry to say, I've encountered some people that's kind of listen to my podcast and they go, you have some good points. I can see how you would go that way, and I could see how you would base your values on that. And then you have those people that's so entrenched in identity politics that, the race barrier becomes the issue, right? Like there was one guy, I was going to have him on my show. We still haven't done it yet. And he's basically blasting, criticizing Black Republicans on race. And I said, hey, listen, we can have a conversation, because I want people to know that the problem with identity politics is that you take something that can be solved and you make it unsolvable, right? What does that do for the Democratic Party? I tell people all the time, Democrats only have one idea. That's redistribution of wealth. Look at it. Any situation the Democrats have, it always leads back to redistribution of wealth. You can have a conversation with a Democrat. You could say, hey, listen, I'm a conservative. This is to make progress. And they'll say it's not good enough. And then their version of good enough, the end analysis always ends up in somebody's redistribution of wealth. That's all it leads to. There's no common sense idea that you can come up with them that doesn't lead to redistribution of wealth. Look at systematic racism. Just look at it. If we play devil's advocate, we say, okay, this systematic racism. What if we have new tools and policies, blah, blah, blah? They will say, no, it's not good enough. And then in the end analysis, it's going to turn into some racial justice word that ends up in redistribution of wealth. That's it. That's it.
Yeah,
There's
because it's all about making government bigger. And you always hear like the government has the responsibility to you to do this. I think and we should get into Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the Supreme Court and what's going on with that. But you heard, one of the senators saying, I think it was it Chuck Schumer? The government has the responsibility to provide you health care, to provide you, of course, women's health care, abortion, their little code word for that. They have the responsibility to the illegals, and it's just big government. So that's, again, the redistribution of wealth, putting it through the government's hands. It is their solution for everything. So, and also liberals are much in the business of making new saints right now, right? And so now Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a saint. You know what I mean? It's like coming out that she's like, you've got people screaming because she died and they can't believe it, and there's just so much craziness around it. What's you guys' take been on that?
My take is that, and I'm gonna make a post about this, so you all can't take these words, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in big bold letters. A deathbed wish does not override a presidential a president's constitutional responsibility.
That's right.
Our president has a constitutional responsibility that he has the right to do. And at the last I heard on the news right before I came here was that actually Mitt Romney is the one that said he supports moving forward with whoever the president wants to nominate, and he supports
What?
it. So, yeah, I just heard
Can
that.
you believe
Yes,
that?
Mitt
Yeah.
I guess he wants to be
now.
reelected, huh? That's
So your prayers are working.
Right.
Yeah. Said Mitt Romney. It was like when
it.
they said when they announced Mitt made that decision. It was like the president has all the support he needs now. That was the
vote.
seal. That was
He
the
has to
count.
vote, didn't he?
Yeah, but her deathbed wish means
Exactly.
nothing compared to a presidential constitutional responsibility. So feel the
unless you want to make everything emotional, right?
and that's what they do. They keep, and that's one of the tactics that they have done with Black Americans. Keep people caught up in their emotions. Don't pay attention to policies. Keep them thinking they're victims. Keep them thinking that the white man is our problem. Always has been, always will be. And this is why they perpetrate lies like Project 1619. And so people hear that and believe it, and it's just feeding us a feeding frenzy. But we don't fall for the lie. That's why we have to keep talking and engaging people. Talk, put the truth out there.
It's just so ridiculous. We know we have to be respectful when she wasn't someone that was on our side of the aisle. So we have to be respectful and offer prayers to her family. But to act as if Republicans that act as if she was this amazing, just her whole legacy. Everybody's talking about her defending the right to kill your baby. That's out of everything she's done. So how are we celebrating that? And it just blows me away. We have to be kind of fake with that, and just don't say anything. Don't act as if she was just this amazing thing. And that's what gets me, all these people that are Christian Democrats that change their Facebook pictures or whatever to her picture. I'm thinking, this woman, so arrogant, so confident that Hillary was going to win, that she could have stepped down and let Obama replace her, but they just knew Hillary was going to beat him. And all she cared about is making sure women have the right to kill their babies. And so, it's unfortunate. And for whatever reason, God decided that Trump would get a third pick. And as you ladies have said, that's his that's his job. He's charged with, every president makes offers a nominee, and that's what he does. What, is he not going to do it just because she said on her deathbed? I'm thinking, we her will, and who's getting her silverware? Why do we care what she said on her deathbed? I mean, no offense. Now all of a sudden we care about everything and what else she said. What was her last meal? I mean, what? I'm just confident, and I don't know about you guys. I'm loving the Trump that's at these rallies and how confident he is, and how poised he is, and he's just knocking it out of the park lately. And he just, it's hard for me to understand how people feel that Biden, who can't even remember where he's going or what he's doing, or just unbelievable that this man has the ability to think that
he took the day off again today.
He what?
President Trump, he's been
really
what?
He what?
He Biden took the day off again today. President Trump talked about it at his rally, and I guess it's called a lid. And you put up a lid when you say, "Look, whatever I had planned today, I can't do." And he put up a lid again today. President Trump's like, "I'm working my day off here." And you're
Mhm.
calling them late again, dude.
And
It's
that's
like,
how Hillary.
Mm.
Wow. Yeah,
Yes,
obviously,
And that's what
Biden
Hillary
does
did.
not have
Hillary's
the,
fault.
he doesn't have the physical stamina to perform the job. I mean, look at this. But back to notorious RGB, a death, like you guys said, a deathbed wish or a last will and testament does not replace the Constitution. That's why we have a Constitution. In instances like this, where you have political parties or politicians that would want to overthrow the Constitution for feelings and partisan politics. So definitely, you look how the Democrat Party treated Kavanaugh. I mean, they dogged I mean, when I tell you they pit bulled them, they just ate them, they chewed them alive. They came up with false witnesses. Most of the women came out to confess that they were lying. Look at how I mean, think about it. If the Democrat Party had the opportunity to do this, to go ahead in an election year, which is not, it is not against the law or against the Constitution for a sitting president to appoint Supreme Court justice. But think about if the ball were in their court, they would roll it out so quickly. And also think about this. They said, well, Obama didn't do it when he was leaving out. Well, guess what? He couldn't get the votes anyways because the Senate was a Republican Senate, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
exactly.
Correct.
Go ahead,
Correct.
David.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback. Definitely, you guys were accurate in your depiction. And what I find very troubling about this deathbed wish is that she was a Supreme Court justice, but it reveals an extreme bias to the point where she would anoint people to carry out her bias in her death. So that's very troubling, because that means we live in such a politicized environment that people substitute bias for the Constitution. Because now look, you got people in Democratic cities going, no, don't let Trump elect the next Supreme Court. We can't let him do that. But it says he could do that in the Constitution. Well, you know, he's racist, so we can't let him do that. You know, so it's very troubling, because now you don't even have to follow the facts. If you feel a certain sentiment, and if you can find 1 million people to share the same sentiment, it becomes truth.
Yeah.
It's actually holds more weight than the Constitution. Like, if you can get 1 million people to feel the same way you feel, then that's the truth. Because you have 1 million to 10 million people right now saying, yeah, she's right. We can't let him do that. And it's like the Constitution says he could do that. Like, you know, it's not even, it shouldn't even be a real discussion. And the fact that it is a real discussion, it is a problem that it's a real discussion. And like, you know, like the young woman said, you know, I'm not in favor of beating up on the dead, so may she rest in peace. But there is a friendly way to critique somebody who's dying. I'm not saying that, you know, we have to pit bull her in her death, but, you know, for Chuck Schumer and all of those people to honor a death wish, which is really a biased statement. It's nothing more than a biased statement, because you have to sit back and ask yourself, well, why does she want him to wait for election? Obviously, she doesn't like Trump. So what the hope is that is Biden to get in, right? And the extreme left can push Biden around to get what they want. Biden is really a moderate by nature, but he can be bullied by the left, and they know that, and that's why they want Biden in office. Because people like AOC, people like Presley, they know they can bully Biden to get those extreme Green New Deals, and that's all they want from Biden. So in a way, he's kind of a tool for the extreme left. He's not even, like you said, he doesn't have the mental capabilities, but he can be pushed around towards the extreme left. So that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's so good. And it really, it goes back to some of the things that were said when the Constitution was passed about the importance of having an informed electorate, right? The importance of education, which makes me think about how awesome it is what President Trump is doing about pushing for patriotic education in the education systems. We absolutely need that, because we see that that is why some of our young people are the way they are right now is because they haven't been educated properly. They've been given these
Exactly.
1619 Project Lies and critical race theory and things of this nature. And so that's why the country is kind of, some of these young people are going in the direction they're going. So if we had a patriotic education where people understand the real foundation of the country, understand why the Constitution says what it says, understand that the judicial was supposed to be sort of way more like the most unbiased, right, of any of the branches, and how all these three branches were supposed to work together originally and everything like that. Not that justices were your, club to do whatever you want, to get whatever programs you want legalized and things like that. That's not what the purpose of the Supreme Court was supposed to be. So we really need the patriotic education to combat the cynicism that's going on right now.
Mm-hmm. And definitely it has to be done, like as you said, from the ground level, the future generations and education system. So definitely it's been hijacked. I thank God for the new program that President Trump is implementing, the 1776 American Exceptionalism program, because definitely, I mean, the youth now, they don't even know how to write in cursive, so that way they can't even basically read the Constitution, in its original form. And also they're being taught, trained, and schooled and educated through Marxist ideologies. And basically, if you look at it, we really need to study up on this whole Marxist ideology and Antifa. I mean, if you pay attention, everything is in sync with this. I mean, so the whole social media censorship, the rhetoric of Democrat politicians, the rhetoric of Hollywood. I mean, the whole ideology and the censorship, and also the mindset of corporate America. I mean, they've all co-signed to this Marxist ideology. This whole thing about wealth sharing, what they call it, wealth equality or income equality. What they want is an equal outcome for different performance, and that is ungodly. It is not fair. To give someone something that they didn't work for, to take away, just like David was saying, this whole basically taking from the rich, this wealth distribution is no more than socialism. So basically, my thing is this: how would they enforce these policies? If the Democrats were to come into power, and I pray to God that they want to do everything that I can if they don't come into power, how would they enforce socialism? How would they enforce the wealth distribution? How would they force entrepreneurs to produce? Because the thing is, what are the incentives and the rewards of working if there's an equal outcome? What is the incentive of rewards of opening new businesses and entrepreneurship if there's no, if there's wealth distribution? How would they enforce that? That's my biggest question. How do they enforce it? Anyone? David? How do you think they're enforcing?
Well, it's funny that you said that, because I definitely want to piggyback off something you said. You piggyback it off of basically chipping away normal human interaction. Like, for example, you guys had a guest on your show a little while ago. He was into investments. His name was Robert Walker. He's into Blexit too. And the reason why I brought his name up is because I'm into stock investing too, and I'm in the group that he's in. But needless to say, Biden came up with a plan that if you're an investor, right, you get hit with tax if you buy, if you sell. So basically, anytime you step into the tax market, the stock market, excuse me, and any action on your part generates a tax. So this is the type of things that they're looking at, and they're going to take, that tax, I guess, and redistribute it to the poor. Joe Biden even mentioned, he brought up something about kind of rearranging people's 401k and seeing how he can cause some redistribution of wealth through that. And it's really disheartening, because what that does is it provides a de-incentive to not invest. You know, I work hard for my money. Whatever I put up into the stock, whether I put 10,000 or 7,000 into Disney, you know how hard I had to work just to scrape up that change to be able to build something for me and my family. And for him to create that de-incentive is very disheartening. You know, and that's how the country goes down, because you want to encourage entrepreneurship, right? You want to encourage people being successful. So what happens is that when you create the narrative, and the narrative really is based on class warfare, right? So class warfare tells you that if somebody's a big time investor, you know, he had to rob somebody, or it's a zero sum game, right? He had to do something evil to get where he is. So in a way, if the government takes something from him, it's like justice, right? You heard that term, social justice, you know, we got justice. But really, most people that, if you look at the statistics, most of the people that build wealth in their 401k, they're over 50. Wealth is built over time. It takes years and years of hard work, putting each penny that you can. This is not a flash in a pan. Some people told me they're now a millionaire. It took them 30 years to get to this point. And for that man to tear down what they've been building with their own hands for 30 years is really disheartening. Really is.
So basically, it's killing the American dream, and America is the last stop of dreams. And like the Word of God says, that if that my people perish for the lack of knowledge, but also without a vision, the people perish. So if there is no dream cast, you know, then there can be a vision, because the only reason why we have visions and ideas is because we know that we have a system in place that we can accomplish these things. I mean, it amazes me how you have even pastors that will preach on health, wealth, and prosperity, but they vote for a socialist system that'll actually kill the very message or cause that to not even come into manifestation that they're preaching about. I mean, we have a problem here in the Black community where we have basically placed party over people and politics over people. They're acting like our Black people are acting like the Democrat and Republican Party are football teams. This is my team, and I'm gonna go down with them. Okay, think about that. But also, I mean, how can we move forward as you know, as a race of people? How can we birth the next generation if we're killing off the future and killing any actual opportunity where the ones that we already have can actually prosper?
I think like the one thing that gives me encouragement is, and it was so cool. I don't know if you guys saw Candace Owens' latest live, but I think her last book, writing her last book, seems to have had some type of impact on her. We've known she's a Christian for a while, but she has been very explicit about talking about her faith, the reason for her hope right now. And she was just saying, and this conversation is reminding me of that. She kind of brought up that quote, "Are your arms are too short to box with God." Like, these are absolutely anti-biblical ways of doing things. When you discourage people, de-incentivize work, things like that. Those are absolutely anti-God, anti-biblical principles. And so they want to set up a country that is not just, well, is anti-God, but like fighting with God, fighting with the principles of God, fighting with the way that God created things to work. So they want to make things work the exact opposite of how things actually work. And so I do think that sets up a scenario where that cannot prosper. If you have anyone in the land that's going to stand up for the right way to do things, then I believe the power is going to be on our side. And Candace Owens did a whole video just talking about that. You know what I mean? That God is on our side. And even, you know, the passing of Ginsburg at this time, even though she was trying to hold on and people were trying to help her hold on. And it may be a little unrealistic to think that Roe versus Wade will be overturned. But, you know, there's possibility there, and we know God is on the side of that. I don't know what you guys think of that, Stephanie. I see you kind of shaking your head over there. Have you thought about that? That could be possible for us?
Well, wouldn't it be phenomenal? And discussing this even with conservatives, that why haven't they done it before now, and going through history of when we had an advantage. I keep thinking back to when it was passed, what, 1974, or when was it passed? I'm trying to remember. Over 40 years ago. And at that time, the technology and science wasn't what it is today. And is it a baby? When is a heartbeat? All those questions that were foggy back then. It's just a clump of cells. Now, we know that it's baby. Now you 3D, 4D ultrasounds where you can see the features and, oh, he looks like his dad or his mom or whatever, and she has my lips. And so that we know it's a baby. So I know for the Democrats that love abortion, that's the most scariest thing. They put that at the top of their list, that we could actually get Christian judges or justices that support preborn. But isn't it interesting, if we're Republican Christians, we're bigots, but Democrat Christians just get to be, well, I guess they're flexible, and they're not so rich with their values, and oh well, and so that would be phenomenal if we could get that, that done. But I keep thinking, what keeps going over in my head, because so many people on social media right away Friday said, if Trump nominated a black woman, and I just think the Democrats would lose their minds. Well, first of all, they'd have to put this black woman on display, and they'd have to shred her, because they usually say black women are queens and we love black people so much. But then, because she's the Republicans, all better off, take off the gloves, and they got to not only defeat you, but they got to cancel you. They got to go for your jugular, and ruin your mother and everybody else. But wouldn't that be something? A black woman on the court. And I know we shouldn't care about color, but I'm just saying what it would do to their argument, because Joe Biden has promised that if he wins, that's the carrot he's dangling, is that he's going to pick a black woman. I don't know if it's going to be Stacey Abrams or Cardi B, but he said he's going to pick a black woman. So I don't know. That would be, well, no, but yeah, it's interesting. Dare to dream.
I don't know if Kim Kardashian has passed her bar yet, but that would be the craziest thing in the world.
I want to see what Janice thinks.
It's not a popularity contest. This is serious, people.
I want to see what Janice thinks about this. When I was getting ready for the show, I just something dropped in my spirit that black people, basically, well, not in general, I'm talking about the ones on the left, have basically adopted the Democrat Party as their God, because they would obey the Democrat Party over Jesus. I mean, think about it. And the Lord told me, he showed me, say, this is the idol, the hidden idol God that God is exposing now. That they will adjust, like Stephanie just said, they will be flexible and adjust their values and their principles to fit the ideology or the political talk of the day of the Democrat Party. I don't care if it's homosexuality, if it's abortion, whatever it is, they will adjust their talking points to fit the Democrat Party, even if it goes against their conscience. So it just hit me. They worship the Democrat Party. It's hidden in plain sight. What do you think, Janice?
Absolutely. In my book, The Scapegoat, I have a section in one of the chapters, and that section is the idolatry of race. It is a very serious matter, and I'm telling you, and I'll say this boldly, and I got scripture to back it up. It's not just my thought. I'm not being mean. I'm trying to. I shout it out in the book. All this stuff is connected to eternity. It's and I'm not bashing. I can't. I don't have a. I can't put you in heaven. Your choices put you in heaven. I can't put you in hell. Your choices put you in hell. But they have aligned themselves with idolatry. And right now you see this push in our nation to hijack the nation in the name of blackness.
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
It's deductive. You can just use simple logic and deductive reason. I'm proud of being a Black woman, but that's not my identity. Is not based in that. And you know, it's just it is a very serious matter. Yes, ma'am. It is idolatry. It is the idolatry of race. Is when you put anything before God. You got the word of God right here. It's very clear. God's position. Very clear. His position on something. And you said, okay, I'm a Christian, but I think this, or they say that. I mean, if you want to go there with Black Lives Matter, they have taken things to an entirely other level and telling you to participate in witchcraft and ancestral worship and invite the spirit of the dead to come into you. We're talking about the line of demarcation being drawn in a very powerful way spiritually. So the word of God says this: you shall have no other God before me.
Right.
You shall have no graven image before me. And then they say this. God's word is very clear about the family. He's very clear about marriage. He's very clear about life. He's very clear about have no other God before me. And then you have the idolatry of race. Some people are going to really have a serious wake-up call because it's not going to fly.
So how about did we talk about that ritual that the BLM founder did with the wings? Did you guys see that?
With the what?
Did you see that?
I didn't see that. What was it?
Sounds like somebody's going in and out.
Oh,
hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, the Black Lives Matter lady, one of the founders. And did you guys see that ritual she did over for her brother with the demonic wings? It was some witch voodoo ritual she did over his clothes, her dead brother.
I didn't see that, but I heard her in an interview. And to me, I was like, okay, that's it. Now, if Black folk can't hear what this woman's saying and make a decision, I brought it up in some threads and some interactions that I had. They said, what are you talking about, witchcraft? You lying. I said, go listen. And I go to YouTube and pull up Hamilton. It's called Hampton something. He's he lays that thing out and he has the actual interviews. I say, here it is in their own words, in their own conversation. You use deductive reasoning and be intellectually honest. So if people use logic, it just take them down a pathway of logic and encourage them to use deductive reasoning. And then say, hey, you make your decision. It's a very serious matter.
Why are feelings always the default? The feelings are the default.
Because that'll keep you tricked and deceived. Because if you stay in your feelings, you're not going to deal with facts.
That's right.
You're not going to deal with facts. They want to keep us and when it comes to facts, they're feeding the feelings with lies and deception. They're twisting history. The Project 1619, telling us the white man's got his foot on our neck. We're all victims. It's an oppressed nation. We're not oppressed. I've had challenges, but I rose to the occasion, and I'm like, okay, I got God on my side. Greater is He that's in me than he that is in the world. I'm more than a conqueror in Christ. It'd been enough if He told me I was just a conqueror. He says I dare to believe.
Amen.
Right. Absolutely.
Everybody sitting here, David, Felicity, Stephanie, Mikhail, Janice, we believe this. This is and those are the values that we have. Those are the values. I grew up in Jim Crow. They were like, look, they doing this over here, but we have these powerful values that guide us a long way, and we'll proudly sing together. We've come this far by faith.
That's right.
Yeah. And David, I wanted to turn it back to you. We haven't talked to you in a minute, but I wanted to ask you, the title of your podcast, is it David Sypher's Conservatism or Rediscovering Black Conservatism?
Oh, well, David Sypher's Conservatism, that's how you find me on YouTube. That's my YouTube channel. So if you type in David Sypher's Conservatism, then you'll see my videos. The name of my show is called Rediscovering Black Conservatism, and I named it that because there was an old Black conservative. By now, I think he probably passed away, and I heard the term from him, and I thought it was a powerful term because even sometimes when I hear some Black Republicans, when you speak outside of the Constitution, you liable to get yourself into trouble. Same thing with this whole issue of race, right? If you read the amendment, you read the Constitution, we're all created in the image of God, right? We're supposed to be treated equally and fairly under the law. So with this whole race issue, how you solve it is through the Constitution, right? Whether you white or Black, right? Were people treated fairly under the law? Now, we do live in a society where no matter what side, we all agree that we do need to make some adjustments need to be made. But the problem comes in is that when you have an ideology that becomes unsolvable, because once you say something is baked into the system, well, then now you got to do what they say, right? You have to burn it down, because if something is baked in 500 years, there's no other way around it. But if you take a logical approach, and this is the problem, like you said before, critical race theory, right? It takes acts of discrimination and it generalizes it on a whole group of people, right? It's like they have a gang of police officers, because I've seen instances where there have been KKK gangs that have operated in the police department. Say if it's 15 of them, right? In this critical race theory, it can take those 15 people and generalize and say, hey, listen, even that Spanish or that white guy, even though he's not a part of that gang, he's still contributing to this god-awful system, right? So now it becomes an unsolvable thing. And politicians love unsolvable situations because they can keep getting voted in, right? And these things are really solvable. You refer to the Constitution. Were people treated equally under the law? If they weren't, then they need to face the penalty. If they are, then we have to go by what the law says. And it's the same thing with, I just want to touch on this real quick with this whole piggyback the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Because I see a lot of Black Republicans, they fall into the rabbit hole, right? They get into these discussions, right? Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. I've seen it on Twitter. And the person to tell you if Black lives don't matter, all lives don't matter, then you get into that discussion. The whole thing.
Oh no, come back.
It's a left-wing conspiracy just to silence him. Trying to silence him. He was,
He'll come back.
He'll come back. He'll come back.
That was so good. It's like a cliffhanger.
It was
okay. Here he comes. Here he comes.
It was too hot to handle.
Yes,
he's back.
I don't know what.
But we need the end of that. We got to have the end of that.
Yeah. So as Black Republicans, we have to keep our eyes on the prize, right? We cannot fall victim to these rabbit hole conversations, right? We're all granted freedom of expression. So I have a cousin right now who he painted, he's a Democrat, he painted Black Lives Matter mural on his property, right? There's nothing to discuss because he has freedom of expression, what he wants to do with his property. What I'm concerned about is the real issues. I don't really care about what slogan you got, Blue Lives Matter, Black Lives Matter. What about accountability matters? Whether you're a janitor or you're a CEO, you all have to face the same law. Just because you have a butler and a Ferrari don't mean that you don't follow the same laws. So the whole thing is that we have to accountability matters. That's the slogan, and that's what I put on my podcast. Accountability matters. You can't let these left-wing people grab you in this rabbit hole because you'll spend hours and hours debating the slogans don't bring solutions. I don't care what side you are. You could scream black or blue. It's not going to change the law. It doesn't bring solutions. What brings solutions is the Constitution and telling people accountability matters, right? Because when you fall into these rabbit holes, you run into a deep problem. Like, for example, with the case that's going on now with Breonna Taylor, right? You see they boarding up the city. Why are they boarding up the city? Because they already know what's going to happen. Because the thing is that people look at the court and they see an action and they say right away that this person should go to jail, that go to jail. But people don't realize under the law, with the action, you have to prove intent, right? So if there's no intention of ill will, the only other thing you can prove is gross negligence, right? They have to be grossly negligent in their duties and then they will go to jail. Other than that, they have to prove intent. But they're already boarding up the city. So that should tell you that they already know that it's going to be more riots and it's going to be more problems. But the issue with rioting is that you're harming innocent people, right? Because if you want justice, burning down a black business or finding a random person on the street to beat up, that's vigilantism. That's not justice. That has nothing to do with the Constitution. That has nothing to do with making sure that we're all treated equally under the law. And that's what my whole foundation is about. Accountability matters. I don't fall into these rabbit hole discussions because that's what they want you to do. And then next thing you know, you're talking about critical race theory. And you don't even know how you got there. We have to stick to the Constitution.
That is so awesome. You know what I love about that is it's really just bringing the discussion to the things that actually do matter, which we know is not race. We know is not skin color, right?
Right along with that, this is I've been getting really involved locally at a grassroots level. And I've gone to the Tulsa Women's Republican Club, the Tulsa Men's Republican Club. Our lieutenant governor in Oklahoma spoke about 3 weeks ago. He said something that really provoked thought in me. He said, engage people in the marketplace of ideas. And for example, defunding police. That's a marketplace of ideas. We don't even have to talk about Republican or Democrat, black, white. 86% of black people, they did a poll. I knew the 81%, but they said they did another one. 86% of black people do not want the police defunded. In fact, they want more policing in their communities. So engage them along that line of logic and deductive reasoning, and just logic, just keep going there, just on that particular issues such as defunding of police. And look at Joe Biden's position. Who's going to defund the police? So for this election, because of your stand and your value of you wanting protection of your family and your community, which candidate aligns closer with promoting that particular value for you? I mean, it's a slam dunk. Engage them. And I actually, I'm gonna give you an example. I was talking to a young black lady. She said, "Did you know you on national TV?" I said, "Yeah, that was back at the Trump rally." So we got to talking about that, and then I asked her, I said, do you know about the things that President Trump has done that really have benefited the black race? She said, "No, he hasn't done anything." It was a discussion of marketplace ideas, and for her, what got her attention was the funding of HBCUs. Had no clue, and she said, "I know about the prison reform." I said, "Well, do you know about the second chance hiring?" Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know what it entailed. The ride share, just so all the things about that. We went on and on. I engaged her with the marketplace of ideas of second chance hiring and funding of black students being able to go to school and change their lives because she wants to go to college. And then I said, "Now, based upon that, would you vote for President Trump?" She looked at me. She said, I would. Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
I love that.
Wow.
And we are having such an awesome discussion. Just want to acknowledge our amazing audience. You guys are having a great discussion there in the chat. We'll be engaging with you there. You guys are killing it there. Go ahead, David.
No, real quick, I just want to piggyback off you. She said about defunding the police, because that's a subject that's near and dear to my heart. I don't know you guys' location, but I'm on the East Coast, and anybody who's been following New York, New Jersey, in New York did defund the police. Mayor Bill de Blasio did defund the police. And beyond that,
Yeah.
they disbanded the anti-crime unit. Now, for everybody that don't know, the anti-crime unit is the unit that's responsible for keeping in line gangs and the guns. And once they totally disbanded that unit, crime in New York exploded, right? And then the same people are saying, well, where are the police? And then even deeper than that, because of the anti-police rhetoric, there's a going on now called police pullback, right? Because what happens is if a police officer is around and say, just hypothetically, he sees maybe 2 or 3 black men, and he, based on the action, he might goes, okay, it looks suspicious, but I don't want to approach that situation and cameras is on me, right? So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to act like I didn't see it. And then something happened on that corner, somebody gets shot, and then everybody turn around and say, hey, where were the police at? We were counting on you, right? But then if you walk into that situation, there's cameras, and then there's allegations of overreach on the police, right? So it's a very tight situation. So what people have to understand is that there's what the media is pushing and what real people are pushing. What real people want is they want, like you said, they want more police. Even Tyler Perry, he went on CNN. He said, I think we need more. The issue is that police people in the community want to feel respected and they want a level of professionalism, which I agree with. There's always room for improvement. There's nothing wrong with more, right? So, but what the media is pushing is this narrative that the whole police system is corrupt, right? And things need to get torn down. But regular people who have to live in these communities know that's a very dangerous idea. Very dangerous. And matter of fact, there's a guy, he's supposed to be running for mayor after Bill de Blasio. His name is Eric Adams. And I'm going to point him out because he has blood on his hands too, because there was a young Hispanic woman that died in New York right in front of her kid. And it came out that she died over fireworks because the young kids in the neighborhood were doing fireworks and she told them to keep it down and they killed her. But beyond that, before that happened, she went to Eric Adams and she asked him, "Oh man, these guys are basically causing a nuisance in my neighborhood." And she told Eric Adams, "I'm going to go to the police." He said, "No, don't go to the police. You know, police are racist. Handle it yourself." And that woman died. So,
oh my gosh,
you got to understand something. This rhetoric can get people killed, and people have to understand that is that. You know, and the truth is, and I've said this on my podcast, they've almost conditioned black people for a battle with cops. It's conditioned. Like they've actually said in the rhetoric where you get pulled over by cops, it's a battle, right? Because you see it like 2 days ago, I got pulled over by the cops, right? This is my personal story. And the cop pulled me over. And I think I had switched insurance. And he says, well, you know, it's up that you don't have any insurance. So, you know, I showed him all my stuff and he let me go with no ticket or nothing. You know, it was a fair interaction. But you have liberals who've set it up with a battle where the police will go across the car and they'll roll up the window. I don't talk. Get out my face, you know. And it's conditioned for a battle now. So now it's like, I want justice, not in the courtroom. I want justice on the street right now. So if I feel like you're in the wrong, I'm going to get justice. And it's conditioned for a battle. Like it's
you know what? Stories like yours happen all the time, David, but it's not sexy. It's not cool to say that. You know what I mean?
Most
People
of the
don't
time.
want to hear that happens all the time. It's very normal for black people to be pulled over and we're treated incredibly fairly. Like, I'm so sorry to bust the bubble, but like it absolutely happens all the time. And Stephanie, I know you haven't been able to say anything in a while. I just wanted to let you jump in because he's from New Jersey, but we're from Chicago. We know about this stuff. We haven't been totally funded like, or at least to the extent of New York.
I just had a question since you're working with Blexit, and they're talking about the percentage of the black vote that Trump could possibly gain. So do you have any predictions as to, how big the black vote will go for Trump, or the difference between what supported Obama and I think that Obama had a lot to do with people waking up and realizing that what he said he couldn't do, Trump came along and did it for black people. But I don't know, Dave, you have any expertise on the front line, any good news to share that, is looking good for our president when it comes to black vote?
Yeah, well, when it comes to the minority vote in Trump, what's interesting is that his highest share of minority votes were black men. And I do believe groups like Voices for Trump are going after the black male vote. Now, looking back at history, the last Republican presidential candidate that got the highest black vote is, if you remember, George Bush. He went on like this big church tour. I think it was in 2004, it had to be 2004. And he got around 11 to 12% of the black vote. Now, being that we are in a different time, some polls say 40%. My prediction is he'll get a higher percentage of Latino vote, because Latinos have really been coming out for Trump.
Yeah.
Now, I do believe that with the right marketing and the right push, Trump can reach those George Bush levels, rise above the 8% into the 11 and 15%. So I do believe that he very well will reach those pre kind of George Bush levels, and it can be based on how hard his team works and how hard they go after the black men vote, because black men make up a lot of the black people that are voting for Trump, because they're really excited black men. The trouble we have is with black women. Not to say that no black women are voting for Trump, but it's an issue of concern. It's a very issue of concern. So my prediction would be is I do think he can get to those George Bush levels. I do. But like I said, no one can tell until you're in the booth November 4th. But just my prediction is I do believe that he can reach those 2000 levels. I do believe.
Awesome. I love it. I love
Good
it.
answer.
Listen, we want to wrap up on some good news for sure. And I love the point that David made about like your slogan being accountability matters. Janice has said on some of her posts, facts matter. And I had a little hashtag I had come up with a while back saying, make it matter, make your life matter. Like, why do you matter just because you breathe? Now, you matter to God, but I don't know that you matter to anybody else if you're not doing anything. Like, make it matter, right? So these types of slogans are going into the essentials of life. These are the things that actually do make life matter. Things like accountability, things like facts, things like finding out your purpose and actually doing something with your life, right? And so these are things that, when we get to encounter people, we can get on the level of essentials. But I love that point about not being pulled into the rabbit hole of things that are not essential, like color, right? Those things that's just a given, and we don't even need to talk about that, but we can talk to people about things that do matter. And so
that's good. That's really good.
Thank you. Because we've talked about it on the show, like we all have a way, and I've been educating myself more and more, and I try to bring out my little facts and things, but I'm really effective when I talk to people about their purpose. And when we get over into that, and then we look at the anger that they're displaying over random things like that, like, is that helping you? It's just God puts us in situations with the people that we can talk to about the things that they receive. So use the tools that you have. Talk about, what matters to you, and find out too what matters to that person. And
engage them about it. Engage them about it.
Engage. Like, don't give up. I know it's, I see the comments and Kristen talking about, people don't want to listen. But for the one or two that does, You know what I mean? It just lights up your whole way. And by affecting one person, you could be affecting a whole family, their whole oikos, their whole work. You have no idea, their whole church. So
Absolutely. You can
we have
change a
to stay
country. You
encouraged.
can
We
change
can't
a
give up.
country.
That's right. And
Yeah.
we
I love
have
that
a
what you're
country
saying
to
about
save.
purpose. That's amazing because purpose far supersedes skin. It supersedes skin color. Purpose.
We all
Wow.
have one.
Yeah.
Purpose matters. Purpose matters. So, anyway, thank you,
True.
David, so much. Thank you for the work that you're doing in Blexit. Thank you for your show. I mean, we got to keep our voices out there. And we like to say, we're here because we're here. We want people to
Yes.
know we're here. And
Right.
we thankful for the
That's
silent
true.
majority doing the right thing in the booth. But, in order to influence even more people to be that way, we got to have our voices heard. So thank you for the hits you take. Thank you for what you do. And thank you, audience, for watching. We will be back here next week in this fight and keeping you encouraged to keep doing the right thing out there on social media and your lives. Thanks for being with us here, Black Conservative Female. See you next week.
Blessings. God
Thank,
bless America. God bless you, good
thank,
people. All right.
thank.
Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.